Hey, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel, and this is going to be a good old-fashioned game devlog for Regulator City, the game I've been working on. A game where you are the leader of a team and your best weapon in the game. It's a top-down shooter and your best weapon is your team, actually. They are around you, they run with you, they help you out, they attack enemies, they operate stuff, and I think that's going to be the unique thing of this game, or at least I hope so, because that's what I've been putting most of my development time in, getting these guys to actually function on their own and doing the things that you want them to do as a player. So yeah, let's talk about the big changes I've been doing in the recent weeks. It's been a while since I showed you some stuff of the game, so there have been some changes as usual, because that's pretty much what I do all day. Work on the game, change things up, and hope that they eventually, after all the changes are done, it's a better product than when we started. Let's just dive into the stuff. Right, the big change that I want to talk about today, like the biggest one, is it actually solves a lot of game design issues I had, a lot of little things and problems, and it also adds new interesting ideas for the game. What we had before was you pick a player, one of the main characters, and the rest of the team would be created out of any of the other characters you didn't pick. So that meant that you were running around and you had your dodge ability and your special power ability, and the other guys would in theory have them as well, except they never use them because they're AI controlled, and I don't want to have all these abilities going off and happening, and it's already a bit confusing on screen sometimes. When you're in the middle of a fight, you don't want your AI to do a bunch of things that you have no say over or control over, using their special abilities or whatever. So they weren't using them, and that pretty much dumped them down to just normal squad members. So that's what I changed. You now pick your general or your main character, your main superhero type class thingy, and your team will be created out of generic mercenaries, men for hire, hired guns, soldiers, whatever we're going to call them. They will be very standard stuff, and they don't have special powers, don't have special abilities. When they die, it's game over for them. You just recruit new ones. So this creates a couple of interesting changes. For one, we only need the user or the main player's HUD up there, status bar and all that stuff. We don't really care about our soldier anymore. So decluttering the top of the screen. Also, we don't have to explain why they are not using their special abilities. Well, they don't have them, so that's that. We've been collecting money all over the place and gold, and we don't really have much purpose for that except building or buying new buildings to buy and have new missions in those buildings. But we want to do more with all that money and gold. So now we'll have to use that money and gold to recruit new soldiers, and we can add the option to actually improve them. So train them with new weapons so that they are allowed to pick up better weapons and know how to use them. Maybe we can give them more health points along the way so that we can train them to be fitter and then they have more health points. There's now a lot of stuff we can add to the game that you can use your money for, or maybe upgrades you find, or items or trinkets. And I think overall this pretty much improves the game, and it fixes a bunch of little things that I wasn't really sure what to do with game design wise. So now we have all that money, we can go to the headquarters. If we just lost a couple of team members, we'll just recruit a few more over there. We can then train them, we can improve them, and eventually the team that runs along with us it's like a real weapon. It can be upgraded and has more power and is more functional and can be used more. And maybe I can even make it so that your team doesn't have 3 members running around with you, but 4 or 5 or 6, like a whole squad running around with you. Not sure yet if I'm going to do that, because that's a lot of AI stuff happening in the background, but maybe we can do something like that, increase it a little bit. We'll see. But this already changes so many things all around in the game design, and it also, and this was probably the main reason I started doing it, it declutters the screen a little bit, because these guys are generic looking, so we have far less colors and characters running around, because your brain will actually kind of remove them from the picture. You'll know they'll be there, you know they're running around alongside you and they're your team and you don't have to fear them, but all the colorful stuff happens on the enemy side. So it's a lot easier on the eyes, and also hopefully for people that stream games, your viewers will be able to watch this game and follow it a lot easier. At least that's what I think will happen. I hope it happens, but it's a good improvement anyway. One of the other things I've been changing over the recent weeks has been the park area. We have a lot of different areas, apartments, hotel room or hospital, bank, but we also had a park, and a park is pretty much an outdoor area that I was forcing on the game engine to be an indoor, outdoor type thing. It just didn't look right, it didn't look good. The first thing I changed was the lighting, so that I figured in a park or with a lot of trees it will be darker, so the lighting is different. But I also started adding grass tiles, because well, a park needs grass, as the Discord channel was so friendly to remind me. So once I had all those things up and running and changed the layout of the park, I think we ended up with a pretty cool park area. I can now also build more park levels. Pretty much every area in the game, like a park or like a hospital, will be able to have 16 different level layouts, and they can then also be flipped, which means a lot of different missions eventually. I just haven't been designing all those levels because I'm still changing pretty much what the game can be and does. For example, I only just fixed security cameras so that the AI knows how to dodge them correctly. This took a lot of work, but now it works. So I can now design a lot of game levels with a lot of security cameras. That makes it very interesting to just navigate and try not to be spotted by the camera. And the AI will be pretty good at avoiding it, but you as a player might actually be the weak link on this one. And as soon as you've been spotted by security cameras, enemies will be spawning around you, and that will make the level a lot harder. So and of course there is a way to disable the security cameras. So either disable the security cameras or just disable the power, depending on the level layout. I can play with that now, and I will be able to create new levels with those things. And of course, park areas, like I just mentioned, are more interesting. We also have a lot of NPCs that can now be added to a level. So yeah, a lot of different changes to the level layouts and mission structure. Still a bunch of things that need to be done on that area, but that's just going to be sit down and design levels. And sometimes you have a lot of ideas, and sometimes you just start at a room and then build it out from there and hope that eventually it's a fun level. If not, you'll have to scratch it and do it again. We got park areas. That's the main point here. Park. And speaking of NPCs, we have these great avatar pictures for our main game characters. But now that we have NPCs that talk to you for the dialogue and the interface stuff, I had to draw a couple of more. I started with the main two, which are the general, which is the first character you'll run into as you start the game, but also a scientist that will maybe help you upgrade your weapons, upgrade your or improve your soldiers by changing their DNA, something like that. We'll have more NPCs, so I have to create more of these images. Yeah, the original one for the main characters are done by DMAC, the intern last year. Last year he worked on all these things. So now I have to do all these in the same kind of style as his characters were. And yeah, I'll manage. That's not a problem, but luckily I can still push pixels around. So it's been fun just creating a little bit of these faces and then having 2 frames, one animated with the mouth open, one closed, and then we'll just randomly animate it as we have text on the screen. While I was doing this, I also changed up the interface, and this is something I've been talking about this on the channel for many times for all the games I've been working on. The interface of a game keeps changing until I release the game, and even then there's sometimes stuff that just doesn't work and has to be redone after release. But I just like to keep changing things until I'm really happy, and I wasn't really happy with the current or the last interface, or I just got bored with it. That's also an option. So I've just been updating it a little bit here and there, adding this blue dialogue behind things and giving it a more sci-fi look than it had. And yeah, for now I like it better than what it was, but it's very possible that in a few weeks or a few months before release the game has a completely different interface or different font. But I've been looking at a different font, but those are hard to find, and they also have to provide you with all the characters, also Cyrillic, and if possible a Japanese version, but that's usually just a completely different font. But things like that change every now and then when I have some time to tweak on these little things in between the big things. That's pretty much how I work on my games. And that's pretty much what I've been working on in the recent weeks. I've been getting questions of when the game is going to be released finally, and it's been a while, and I know I've been working on this game way too long already. The AI just has been a struggle to get it right, and once I had the AI up, it was a very big struggle making sure just all the little things in the game coming together, all the ideas and how to make it actually run and work. And I've been talking about that on the channel, and the struggle and the different things that needed to change, and eventually I have everything now on track. It's a good game, it's a fun game, and there's a lot of room for improvement and adding stuff right now, which is the ideal situation if you're working on a game, having that core basic gameplay up and running, and it's a lot of fun. And then you can build out on a bunch of ideas and content. I just need to do that a lot faster than normal, because everything else took just a little bit too long. My plan is to see if I can find some funding for the game early next year, either with a game funding option, maybe a publisher, but I don't think there's a lot of publishers I want to work with on this game. Also, there's probably not a lot of publishers that want to put money into this game. Also, my experience with a publisher has been weird, and eventually I'll do a video on that, just not yet. And if that all fails, then maybe a Kickstarter, because I don't know, money needs to come in on this game, or else this is going to be a big failure. And I feel that constantly every time in my head as I'm working on the game, and the longer it takes, it's annoying for you if you want to play the game, but it's worse for me, because if the game fails and I've been working on it for so long, I have a problem, and I need to make sure that next year it does not become a problem. So this game will get a release, and something will happen early next year. Hopefully funding that relieves a lot of stress and problems, but if that fails, Kickstarter, and from there on we'll see how it works out. There's gonna be some interesting videos on all that stuff eventually when I get around to it. For now, I'm just breezing out and just sitting out the rest of the year, working on the game a little bit. There's gonna be end of year video, and I'll try to do it a little bit different. But I'll talk about, of course, the revenue made on Orangepixel this year and how it was split up between platforms, but also games, because I haven't really released a new game this year, which is crazy. The last new game released is Residual last year in September. And since then I haven't released anything new. I have released a bunch of older games on new platforms, and that's been doing pretty well. So it's going to be an interesting couple of videos in the coming weeks on this channel. And then next year, early next year, we'll be having a lot of different and interesting talks about Regulator City, as I try to have money coming in on this project. Yeah, so you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. A lot of stuff coming. And thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye.